Hello everyone, my name is PearlescentMoon and welcome back to another video. About a week or so ago, SmallishBeans, a fellow content creator and friend, approached me and asked me if I could transform a house that he sent to me. I do love myself a transformation challenge and decided to go for it. I figured it would be fun to upload as a video, so I also did record it. His video will be linked in the description, so be sure to check it out. Anyway, with all that said and done, here's the build process. The house as seen is a fairly simple, small house set atop a 40 by 40 plot with a river running through the middle and some trees. His only requirements were that the layout was to be kept similar and that I could change all the blocks, roof, and anything inside the marked area. In order to visualize the direction I wanted to take with the house, I took a screenshot and brought it into Photoshop, creating my rough paintover for the brain to register a visual. I'll explain the process and thoughts more when we get into the game, but I thought you guys might like to see the visual in my head before proceeding. Straight off the bat, I felt the terrain was incredibly flat, so I raised the house portion to give it a bit of hierarchy while still being towards the back of the plot, giving it a bit of a cliff. To keep the layout intact, the bridge and river were kept. However, the bridge was transformed into almost more of a ramp that still allowed an easy passage over the water. Adding a cute little path off to the side along the river's edge also adds a bit more life to the scene. In order to set the terrain into proper place, I mixed in some andesite, mossy cobble and stone bricks, regular cobble and some dead coral into the stone wall for some texture. Looking back on it, there were a few too many straight horizontal stone pillars, but it still works to an okay degree. Chuck some greenery into the water with a slight biome change to a lukewarm ocean and it feels alive. Admittedly, I kind of forgot about the other side until further down the line, so don't mind that. Apparently squids also thought it was a good place to spawn and swim around in later. Oh well. Moving on to the actual house, I decided to raise it by a couple blocks and add a small balcony out the front and back, while extending the roof to overhang them. This just adds a little more shape to the basic L shape of the original while adding a bit of a homey feel. With the 2 blocks raised, I added a nice structural, messy stone base all around the bottom where no balconies were present. In general, I felt the single-story home layout felt a bit underwhelming, so I decided to add a second story layer at the top, keeping the original palette for now so I could focus on the shape before what blocks I changed it all to. Once I have my shape down, I start adding on small details like cute archways in the roof supports, extinguished campfires overhanging the roof lip, and my favourite lectern balcony railing around the outside. As a fun detail, you can add carpets on top of lecterns to create this subtle rail or line-like effect poking out through the carpets themselves. The lectern's hitbox appears to be smaller than the actual block model, so it pokes through the carpet on top. For the roof, I experimented with a few variations using the new blocks, but decided to go with our dark prismarine friend in the end. The house gave a very natural type of vibe, so instead of the bold, contrasting colours of the new wood types, I wanted to lean more towards a green, without going for green terracotta. Dark prismarine just feels a little bit more structural without feeling like the roof is made of grass. Oddly enough, I didn't add a gradient on the roof this time round. I got way too distracted with the other details on this one. The top floor sported a simple A-frame roof, lipped with some campfires like the first floor, and given a sprinkle of dormers on the top to fill in the mass of blank space. Almost feels like we're doing a cooking show here. Anyway. Moving on to the walls, in order to separate the walls from the balconies that were both using oak wood, I went with a white palette consisting of smooth quartz, the new quartz brick, polished diorite and regular diorite. The second floor received a different treatment, utilising varying types of birch blocks and smooth sandstone. Little hanging plant pots and lanterns were draped on the roof and windows sport some small garden beds. Around the back, I refined the details to match the front with supports for the roof and small intricacies such as the archways and hanging items. Adding some signs around the top sections of the pillars creates a little subtle shape to break that flat horizontal line of the supports. The natural stone bulk is carried around the base and a new tree is created where the original oak tree once stood. You can create a subtle gradient effect on trees by adding spruce leaves at the bottom transitioning to birch and then to oak and jungle for the lightest blocks. I felt this kept the spirit of the original layout and wished to keep things recognisable. Back around to the front, I just had copies of the first tree I made where the other 2 trees once stood, and added some rocks for a fairly rough landscape surrounding the building. These are made with our stone block mix consisting of stone, andesite, cobble and dead coral with andesite walls to give a bit of extra shape. To complete the exterior of the scene, I added some leaves, grass and a couple of small wheat segments to make the house feel a bit survival friendly, alongside some torches on walls and fences leading up to the bridge across the river. Maybe the landscape ended up a bit too busy in the end, but I think if placed within a large area of terrain, it might be a bit more fitting. Anyway, with those details added, we can call the outside done. Now, surprise, surprise, I've also made the interior on a base level, so let's move inside. The original interior sports a mini furnace area, some shelved storage chests, an enchanting table and a small bedroom. In the spirit of keeping the layout similar, I carried this general composition into the refreshed look and left everything where it was originally. Just added my own extra touch. I turned the furnace area into a mini kitchen cabinet area, accompanied by the chests next to it, split up into singular chests instead of 2 doubles for split storage. The armor stand was added back, and a small table by the door gave a little place to put items on display. Moving through to the enchanting area, I added more bookshelves to make it feel almost like its own room, alongside a fresh wall with an archway to walk through. This helps to segment both the zones a bit more without making the home feel too tight and compact. You can add looms placed sideways to look like empty bookshelves, and even break some holes in the middle to appear like empty shelves where pots and chests could feel right at home. Upon stumbling into the sleeping area, I moved the bed forward slightly in order to fit a small bed frame within the bed and window. This allows space for any supply chests to be stored as well as cute lamps. Adding furniture detail like this gives the bed a sense of place in the interior. Unfortunately, there was no room to really add a staircase in here without impacting another zone, so a simple ladder climbing up the wall in the enchanting area allowed access to the second floor. In here, I decided to add a small brewing room with all the storage and netherwort grow space you would need. This room also steps down into a small attic room where you can sit and look out at the beautiful landscape. In this situation, there isn't really much to look at, but we can just imagine, right? Anyway, that's basically the house transformed. I did enjoy making this small transformation in the end. I find it a fun challenge to try and keep the original parts of the house recognisable once explored, and I feel like this falls within that category fairly nicely, aside from that second floor that I added. Once again, if you guys would like to see SmallishBeans' video on the transformations of his home by other creators as well as his own, feel free to check it out with the link in the description. Much love everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!